In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
This is the Scarlet Supporters Podcast. You can contact us on all the usual social media platforms, or you can email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Scarlets Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Big M and Hugh. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Evening, lads. Very
evening,
well,
boys. How are we?
Yeah, good. I still haven't got a natty nickname for Hugh. I thought something statty wise, but you know, all the stat ones have gone, and then I thought we could just call him Spreadsheet. You know, that might.
I like that.
Yeah, that's our Spreadsheet. How's Spreadsheet doing? You know.
I think we can call him Kilch. The amount of times he spins his bloody phone in a circle when we said in his meeting.
I haven't got a tripod. Anyway, let's not bore listeners with that.
So how has your week been this week, boys? Mark, anything interesting to report?
No, a nice boring week with all the kids home from school. So, you know, nice and easy life.
And the little one hasn't come up with any new words this week?
No, nothing this week. No, she's gone from needing chicken to needing nana, and I'm not sure if it's banana or her actual nana. So it's quite convoluted.
Go both. Just go both.
Yeah, you wait till she can say KFC, and then you're sorted. Then see. So, Hugh, anything of interest to report this week?
Well, the only thing I thought would be interesting to you guys is I went round someone's house on Friday. And we were chatting away, and the girl who was there was Turkish, still is Turkish. And she goes, I'm trying to visit all these places around the UK, and I want to visit Wales. And we were like, oh, yeah, very good. Whereabouts in Wales? And she goes, well, there's one place in Wales that I've heard is very, very beautiful, and I'd like to go and visit there. And I said, oh, yeah, where's that then? And she goes, Pembrokeshire.
Obviously, yes.
Obviously. So I said, oh, yeah, get yourself down there. So, you know, any recommendations for tourists where they should visit in Pembrokeshire, Lee?
Yeah, well, there's obviously Barrowfundle, which is, we try to keep people away from it, to be honest, because it's the nice place to go, but it's really
nice. So you don't want people going there. It's like the nice biscuits. You don't eat them. They're too nice.
Yeah, you put them in a different tin. You don't put them in the biscuit tin. You put them in like a different tin that only you know is the biscuit tin. So yeah, Barrowfundle. If you really want to annoy visitors, send them to a place called Scrinkle, which it's a really small beach. But the steps there's like about 200 steps, and they're like that. And that's hilarious watching people go down there. But yeah, I rather like the walk across the top of the Preselles, which in typical Pembrokeshire fashion, I think they call it the Golden Mile, but it's 6 miles long. So it's one of those weird ones. Yeah. So. I
can't believe you missed out Folly Farm by you.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a standard, you know, kids thing, isn't it? That's
kids. That's my thing, that is.
Yeah, but you've been banned off those tractors how many times now? You're too big, and they got to keep replacing them.
Well, yeah, that's why I've grown a beard this time now, so they wouldn't recognise me.
And you're not allowed in the play fort anymore, right?
I don't fit anymore. I'm gutted.
Do you know what? I was gutted when all the little kids climby-on-y things like the pirate ship and all of that. When I was too big to go on that, and my kids grew up and they were like, "Oh yeah, don't really want to go to Folly Farm anymore." And we're like, "But the play ship, the pirate ship, and we can play in the fort." And they're like, "Dad, come on, we're 16 now." You know? So my fun event from this week, although there have been many. So we went for a walk in Tenby on Sunday afternoon, right? And we had like an ice cream waffle thing. So the wife's kind of back and forth to the shop, and I was a bit tired, so I sat down outside in Upper Frog Street. And I was watching like loads of people coming down, and his family came down with this old guy, and he stops outside the rugby club. And as he stopped, he was trying to do something, and this seagull was coming into land in the street. But as the seagull was coming into land, it dropped a little parcel that just kind of splashed off the side of his shoulder. Yeah. So he starts going nuts. He starts absolutely losing. It must have been like a new coat or something. So he's going, rah, 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 and everybody in the street stops to look at him. And then the seagulls landed like about 10 foot from him. So he goes to start and chase the seagull and aims a foot at it. The seagull takes off, turns around on him, and tries to crap on him again. And he's got to sidestep out the way. And he's standing in the sheet, shouting at this seagull that's flying off. Everybody's just going like, that seagull just tried to shit on you twice, mate. He done you. So, oh yeah, that was my high.
That's his lucky demon.
It's just the way. Oh, he's like he's done it once, and then he's literally the seagull's taken off, turned round, and had a go at him again. It was brilliant. It was high point of my week.
You can get arrested for assaulting seagulls. They're a protected species.
Yeah, I don't think it applies.
Only if you get caught.
If you get caught, yeah.
If they're nicking your pasty or your ice cream in Tenby, then they're fair game. They've made their choice. So anyway, let's talk some rugby, boys. Let's get into some rugby because there was plenty of it. I think we have to. I do genuinely think we do. So let's start with a few's magic numbers. What did you before we discuss the game? What did you actually take out of the game from last week, Hugh?
Nothing good, I'm afraid. So in terms of magic numbers, I'm afraid it's all pretty sorry reading. Our scrum success percentage, 44% success at the scrums, which is less than half. I don't know if I've ever seen the stats.
I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Hugh.
Yeah.
Less than half.
So I've never known scrums go so wrong. Across the 3 games, we lost 13 out of 31 scrums, and that's only our own put in. That doesn't count the ones where we've been absolutely smashed backwards and given away a penalty. That's just 13 of our own put in across 3 games we've lost. Unbelievable. Although I'll give you one for you guys to guess though. Lineouts. So across the 3 games, we had 39 lineouts. How many would you say we lost?
15.
There was 6 in the second game. There were 3 in the first game, so that's 9. The lineup wasn't that bad on Saturday. I'm gonna go 11. So
according to Rugby Pass, we only lost 7 lineouts. Now,
what?
7 out of 39 isn't bad, so that's 80%. But what you have to be careful of with some of these stats is it doesn't count if you like jump up in the air and you try and catch it and don't catch it, but it gets recovered and it ends up on your side. That counts as a 1 line out, even if it's a line out that's gone wrong. So officially, we're still running at an 80-something% line out. So that tells you all you need to know about stats, really. Anyway,
I hope that's not the analysis that you're using in the Welsh camp.
Yeah, be great.
I saw a really good one, a stat from. Do you remember the warm-up game in 2007 where we lost 62-5?
Oh, I don't. All I can remember is Ali Bruce shoulder check on that game.
So the defence coach for Wales came out after that and said, our defence was good because we successfully made 90% of our tackles. And you're like, mate, we just lost 62-5. I think maybe some more tackles would be better rather than high percentage. Did we only try 10? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about this miserable game rather than that miserable game.
Yeah, what did you make of that game, Hugh? What did you were obviously sitting there enjoying it. You know, you've got your bottle of pina colada and your posh crisps and all of that kind of stuff on
Posh
the go.
crisps, yeah. So these are my notes from the game. Let the record show that I'm showing the lads my notes. Okay. I only took
a blank piece of paper, mate.
I only took notes on the first half. I couldn't be bothered to take notes in the second half. I didn't think there was any value in doing that. Basically, it was always. I thought the selection was a bit funny. There was a mix of players who I think were in their last chance. There were players who were getting their first chance, and there were players who were, I think, being played because they didn't want the other players to get injured. And obviously, it was a complete mismatch against what was 80% the first choice box team. I think I'm going to start with things that went well, because there was some. So we were winning on 20 minutes. 21 minutes, we weren't winning anymore. But on 20 minutes, we were winning. I thought Sam Costello went well. I thought his place kicking put Lebock to shame, which is nice. And I think he's gone to show that he doesn't need Lee Halfpenny in the team to take the kicking off him. I think he's shown that he's a perfectly capable goal kicker. Kieran Hardy, who obviously hasn't made the main Wales squad, which we'll talk about later, I thought the length on his box kicks and the hang time was excellent. So out of the first 5 box kicks that he did, we reclaimed 3 of them. And another one of them was very closely contested, and we ended up winning a penalty off the back of it. In terms of what else can I take from that game, we'll talk about some of the individual players later. Obviously, Tom Rogers had a bit of a one-on-one set to with Colby throughout the entire game. Colby's had a lot of praise for how he performed in that game. He was very exciting, but he was playing a bit like a crab. Everything was sideways with him. And I think Tom got a bit flustered towards the end of the game, but I do think Tom had the measure of him defensively for a lot of it. Obviously, he folded him in half quite early on, which was Colby's fault because Colby jumped into the tackle. So that should have been a penalty to Wales. But anyway, moving on. What can I take from the game? I think all Gatland wanted to learn from it was who was he not taking, and he learned that. Kieran Azarati, bless him, he's not. he's not going. Yeah. Oh, Jack Morgan did a nice kick. Kicked it from his own 22, bounced in the opposition half. That was fun. Yeah. Also, Mason Grady, if you have the ball in your own in-goal area, don't chuck it to the opposition. So he's learned that. It's a good learning from him. He doesn't lose, he learns.
Doesn't it annoy you, though, that when they say after the match, we learned from that? And you're like, surely you're a professional player. Do you really need to learn about not throwing the ball to the opposition when they can score?
He threw it forward as well. So even if the opposition hadn't caught it, if one of our players had caught it, it would have been a forward pass. And it would have been a scrum to South Africa anyway.
Would have been offside.
The best excuse I've heard is that he didn't want to concede a 5-metre scrum because we'd have got shoved over. Well, they definitely will score if you give it to them directly, Mason. Yeah. In terms of your question, Lee, do I get annoyed? Do I get annoyed by saying we learned? I don't get annoyed in the case of some players. If it's like your first or second cap or your first start or something, I don't mind you learning. So like when Sam Costello made a couple of mistakes in the first game against England, I don't mind that because it was his first proper opportunity. Other things I do mind. Just leave it there.
Yeah. So Martin, what did you make of the rest of the Scarlets players and what did you make of the game as a whole?
Well, I don't want to talk about the game. I don't want to talk about the game as a whole. I don't think any self-respecting Welsh person wants to talk about the game. But no, only 4 Scarlets in here, and like who's already said, Hardy, his box kicking was pretty on point. Vast majority of them were, contestable. He was a bit of a big mixed bag for me. His game management, especially at the ruck time, is, it's always dodgy. And, something, as a Scarlet, we see on a regular basis, he leaves the ball in too long, trying to buy a penalty, he gets caught out. And I still got flashbacks to that try at Edinburgh 2 years ago.
I'm still angry at Andrew Brace about that.
Oh yeah. But it's those situations he doesn't react quickly enough, and he just thinks if he flops over, he'll get a penalty, and he gets caught out too often, which is probably his main down. But I will give him some leeway, though. His head probably wasn't in there, given everything that has happened with his little girl, the previous week. And, it's a hard thing to go back to your day job when, half your mind is on your kids back home. It just doesn't work out well. Costello the same. He didn't have much chance to do anything, but what he did have, he done well. All I can say is that all the non-believers who were questioning his size, his defence, I think they've firmly been shut up now. And it's not often you'll hear me say this, but I really liked his HIA, just because seeing a player being absolutely hammered on the scoreboard and he's still diving on the ball, throwing caution away, doesn't care about his own health, just trying to keep possession. That shows you the type of player that he is, and it's just good to see. Hopefully, it's just a short one, and he'll be ready for Fiji at least. Johnny Williams, like it was said, with players, first or second cap or first game, which in Johnny's case it was, you can excuse some things. He's barely touched the ball for the last 6 weeks. We all know that. But what he did do, positively, is he ran at that brick wall all day, and he never stopped. He tried a few things, they didn't come off. But first game, I think overall you can't be too displeased, just because, again, you're going backwards. You've got no ball, no foundation, no nothing. What are you going to do? The few times he tries to pass and they're in the passing lanes, he's screwed either way. And lastly, Tom Rogers. Now, I'm a little bit like Hugh in this. I like stats, but I like context. And I think I saw one where Tom Rogers missed 4 tackles. But from what I could see, none of them led to a line break. So, it's a bit different if you miss a tackle and they've gone 30 metres past you. But I've spoken to you boys about this already, but one point early in the match, it was around 15 minutes, the commentators were going mad about Kobe. And, like you said, he's crabbing sideways. So he goes into Rogers, bounces backwards, so it counts as a missed tackle. And then he runs infield, but Rogers is tracking him all the way, and he makes his tackle. And 100% who said he had Colby marked up defensively all day, and he can be really proud of what he did with ball when he had it, but obviously just nowhere near enough to force his way into this new Wales squad. So
yeah, I completely agree with you on tackle stats, mate. The tackle stats are for TV. I ignore tackle stats.
I think the problem with Tom Rogers was not that he missed tackles, but that he tackled the wrong people. So if you look at 2 South Africa tries that were scored on his wing, they're scored because he cuts in, he bites in on the inside player. And, fair enough, one of them was Colosi.
His offload.
Yeah, and if you look at that offload, well, if Tom Rogers stays out, he'll intercept, or that offload isn't on.
Yeah, so, he is left with a one-on-one with Malcolm Marks, though. So,
So I had a mate of mine message me about Malcolm Marks, and he goes, "Oh, that boy Marks, he's a hell of a player, isn't he?" And I go, "Oh, the one that wrote that book." And I go, "Which one? The Communist Manifesto." And my mate's going, "Yeah, he was a nice guy, wasn't he?" And about halfway through the game, when you've got to go back and go, I can't remember where we are with this conversation now, mate. Let's just start it again, shall we? But yeah, I think for Tom Rogers, it's always difficult when you're defending as a wing, because if the inside players don't defend right and you're left defending a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1, that's where you really earn your money. But if you're running a 3-on-1 and you're South Africa, that ball's going over, and it did. So I just
Rio Dyer had a hell of a time on the other wing. Rio Dyer was targeted by South Africa.
Yeah, and I think we got to look at the whole 3 games as a whole rather than just that one, just for our own sanity. I think there's been good bits, there's been bad bits. I think in that last game, our scrum, our rucking was really, really shown up. But then our line-out improved, and our line-out got taken apart by England. So if you can perform okay in a line-out against South Africa, and then bring your best scrum, and then do something at the ruck, it's like putting the jigsaw together. If you can bring all of those together at the same time, then it starts to look a lot better than where it was on Saturday. I think I think Hugh, you might need to check this stat, but there were more caps on the South African bench than there were in the Wales starting 15 on Saturday. There was something like that. There were definitely more caps in the forwards than there were in the whole of the Welsh cap. There were more caps on the back line than there were in the whole of the Welsh setup. So, experiences, it counts for a lot at those levels. Because
I think combinations as well. I mean, obviously Johnny Williams and Mason Grady will have never played together. Rio Dyer, Kai Evans, and Tom never played together as a back 3. So obviously that would have been huge. I don't have the exact stats in the spreadsheet for how many caps everyone had, but
your spreadsheet is missing figures.
Terrible.
Oh,
I do know
terrible.
that,
it's diabolical.
I do know that Sam, Johnny, Mason Grady, Tom, and obviously Kai Evans will all be single figures, and most of them low single figures.
So, Dyer's still single figures, or has he just gone over?
He might just be on 10 now. So let's say single figures as well.
Yeah. So it's one of those. I saw something else as well. Somebody was saying about how these players should all have been blooded, 12 months ago, 18 months ago. And this is the bit that annoys me about Welsh Twitter in particular. Lots of these players were being blooded 12 months ago, and they were being blooded 18 months ago when everyone was having a go at Pivac because why is he throwing these players in? And Pivac did but Pivac did rotate too many players and too often and what have you. But lots of these players got their first cap under Pivac and got brought into the squad. So I think we've got to be realistic about, a lot of these players have been in and around the training squad for a long time as well. So it's a hard one to call where, you're never going to get the experience unless you're on the pitch. But if you're a professional player, you're a professional player. And realistically now, we're playing in the URC. Those are South Africans. We've come up against most of the Welsh players on that pitch have come up against most of those South Africans more than once. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there is a lot that went wrong on Saturday. There's a lot that we can take out of it. But I think, in all honesty, we just go put that one to bed and move on to the World Cup. You've almost got to put it out of your head and not even think about that game and go forward from there. So I tell you one thing I did like from the game, in the build up to the game.
So before the game,
it was all going so well, and then the referee blew for kickoff, and then it went down. No, so before the game, I think it was Oxnich was asked about how many calories, what's his calorie intake every day, and he went about 9 slices of cake. I just he was being interviewed with someone, and they're like, yeah, I'm on about 2,500, and then I do this for game day. I'll do this, and in the run up to it, I'll change the calorie intake. And he's going like, yeah, nine slices of cake, mate. And you're just like, yeah, you can tell sometimes. You can tell, but yeah. So, okay, let's move on swiftly from the South Africa game then, and let's look at the squad selection. So, Martin, what do you make of the squad as a whole on there?
It is what it is. There's not much more you can say for that. No one here, and no one around Wales really had much of an input into it. So I'm just glad to say that I'm not responsible for this squad. I'm just putting that out there. I had nothing to do with it. There's always a few surprises. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I'm concerned with is the fact that we're carrying 6 injured players. Gats recently stated, we'll take 1 or 2 injured players, no more. As it stands, if you include, Costello's HIA, we've only got 1 fit hooker and 1 fit fly half. That just doesn't bode well with me, and I it's capable, but most of these are going to be combinations like we've already spoken about that haven't played together. I mean, we know what Tompkins and North do together, but I can't imagine them being played together just because Gas likes his big men. So he's going to want Johnny Williams, and he's probably going to want Grady on the pitch as well. So maybe that centre partnership we saw on the weekend is going to go all the way through. But I think the biggest surprise for me is the fact that Joe Roberts hasn't made this squad. And okay, a lot of people say that he might not be he might not be ready for it. Well, yeah, okay, he might not be ready, but he's still the best 13 Wales has to offer, and he's by far the best natural 13 and defensive player we've got, and that is something that is it's so hard to teach. Just look at North. I mean, how many years has he been trying to play 13 and he still can't do it?
No, not this again.
I mean,
not more.
Yeah, he cannot play.
I got him in. I got him in.
In all honesty, yeah, the one thing that we've learned from these games is George North can't defend at 13. It's such a pivotal place. Even Grady, who, at least Grady plays there every week. And he was kind of doing what he needs to do. And with a bit more experience at international level, he'll do it a bit quicker and he'll be in position a lot quicker. And George North is just, when you look at the tries that George North scores, right, he's not taking a player on and going through him. He's not taking a player on and going around them. He's finding space and he's hitting space and he's finding the right line to run. Yeah. That's a winger. That's what wingers do. Wingers find the right line and they go, I'm going to run at space and then I'm going to hit space. 13s run at gaps in between players and they run at people and they run round people in order to make the space for the player outside them, which is the 14. George North is an excellent winger, even with the reduced pace. Yeah, he might not be as fast as Dyer or as Louis Rees-Zammit, but he's an excellent winger because he runs the line. Yeah, and we've seen this at the Scarlets, where our best winger, the one that scores the most tries, is the slowest winger on the pitch. Yeah, take his hair away from it. I'm not going to mention his hair, but
not again.
But take George North by all means as a winger. He is not a 13. He can't defend and he doesn't attack. He's got a straight line. And if you're a 13 and you've got somebody running straight at you, thank you very much. You either wrap or you dump. Yeah. He doesn't offer anything different. And for me, that's a massive lost opportunity for Wales, simply because Roberts has demonstrated that he can defend at 13. He does defend. He blocks the outside pass. He knows when to slip to 15. He knows when to cut in to cut out a pass, and he knows when to drift out onto the winger. It's not something you can coach in a manual and say, right, George, this is what I want you to do now. And you look at how many times George North gets caught out at 13, and it's absolutely sickening that we keep putting him. It's not fair on him. It's not fair on him to keep putting him there and go, you're crap at playing 13, but I'm going to put you in there anyway. Stick him on the wing and let him run at small people. Stick him up flanker and let him run at. Stick him as hooker, because we haven't got enough of them, or scrum half. But stick him so. Yeah, but can you imagine him at scrum half running at you? You be going, I'm not having this. You know, he's just not.
Well, I don't know. He's only about an inch taller than Elias, isn't he?
Yeah, Elias is big, isn't he? Elias is big. So
Elias is like 6'3". He's a beast.
Yeah, but he's a scrummaging. So, Hugh, what do you make of the Scarlets content of it? What do you make of the Scarlets boys? And you know, we're all going to agree that Joe Roberts should have been there in place of George North. So,
I think not taking Joe Roberts is a risk, to put it lightly. So there's only 4 Scarlets players ended up going. There was a bit of consternation on Twitter yesterday as someone suggested that the region that is most represented in the Wales squad is actually the Dragons, which shocked people. But it turns out they were counting Dan Lydiard and Will Rowlands as Dragons players, which isn't really fair. And also, someone else worked out that if you count the first region that each of the players played for, the Scarlets is top with 9. So we're still best. So the 4 are Ryan Elias, and he's the only forward. And then I think Tame Plumtree would have gone. But obviously Tame's shoulder is gone. And I think Gats came out and said if his shoulder hadn't gone, he'd have been in. I think he'd have been in instead of Shunza as that 6 lock hybrid. But yeah, so Ryan, and obviously Ryan with Ken out, I think he was always going to go. So he'll be interesting to see who's second choice behind Dewey Lake. Obviously, as co-captain, he'll be starter.
Dewey! Dewey? It's Dewey, mate. Come on, Dewey. Let's say it together.
But I've got friends. I used to have a friend who is. His name is Dewi, and he would pronounce that 3 different ways. So I know people get iffy about how you pronounce it. So I pronounce it Dowie as well, but he would pronounce his own name as Dewey every now and again. So I think
I've seen it spelled out by someone again on Twitter saying it's Dewey.
I've never met a Dewi who isn't Dewi. That there's probably only about a dozen or so, if that. But it's something I've never come across, and it does boil my head a little bit.
See, I've heard it as Dowie, as Dewey, and as Dewi. So it makes not a jot to me. It is what it is. Anyway, we've lost track. What were you saying?
Anyway. So Ryan Elias is the only forward. Gareth Davis, Sam Costello, and Johnny Williams are the back. So interesting, that's 9, 10, 12. So is that a combination that we're going to be seeing on the pitch altogether? I think obviously Gareth was out. He didn't play in the Six Nations, did he? And then he turned his form around. He was a big part of what the Scarlets started doing right in the second half of the season. Obviously, it felt like everyone in the squad had to kick up their arse and got told, honestly, start playing like the internationals you are. And he was one of them, so that's good. Johnny, we talked about. So question for you boys is, where in the pecking order is Sam? Is he going as third choice or is he going as first choice?
So go on, Mark. You do that one first, Mark, and then I'll come in after.
I mean, it's all opinion based and personal preference. For me, first choice. Him and Gareth Davis are my starting halfbacks, and it's not just because I think they're better players. I think they offer more in attack, and that's what we need. And Thomas Williams and Dan Bigger off the bench are really great controlling players. So you've got a a 1-score lead going into the last 20 minutes, they are the players I'd want on the park to control her and see her out.
Yeah, and I agree. For me, Costello's shown that he's got everything that you want from a 10 and a little bit more. I think he's shown, he can kick, he can defend, he can control, he can keep a level head, but he can attack as well, and that's something that we've been missing massively with Bigger. As good as Bigger's kicking is and as good as his mouthing is, he's not an attacking 10. He's actually got better since he went to England and he got given free rein by Pivac. But I think he's been reined in again with Gatland and the current setup to play the more structured game, whereas Costello's been given that license to go and play creatively. So it's a constant argument for me with people about why Gareth Anscombe is there, because he's been crocked for God knows how long now.
He's Gats's pet.
Yeah, and for me...
Coming up 8 years and that winner.
Well, yeah, but for me, that says that the coach is weak. You're bringing somebody, and you could argue this with Faletau as well. He's been out injured for so long. You're bringing people based on reputation, not on how they're playing. You cannot say that Anscombe is there because of how he's playing, because he hasn't played for God knows how long. And the same for Faletau. Now, I kind of get it with Faletau because that part of the cupboard is a little bit bare. But with Anscombe, we've got people in depth. Are you bringing him as a 10? Are you bringing him as a 15?
Well, it's interesting that Gats has felt the need to take 2 15s in Halfpenny and Sanjay and take an Anscombe. I thought if he would take Anscombe, then he would only take 1 15. But Gats has said that he's felt the need to take 2 15s basically because Liam Williams and Lee Halfpenny both get injured all the time. Yeah. But then he's got Anscombe as well, who also is currently injured. But you've got Josh Adams and Lewis Rees-Emick both covered there as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, that, for me. So I agree with you guys. I would go Sam as first choice. I think one of the best times Wales have ever been able to be successful is when we started with Anscombe and brought Bigger off the bench. And I'd like to see that replicated, but with Sam first and then Bigger off the bench. I love Biggs, but I think he is more effective off the bench than as a starter. I'd rather start with Sam and bring Biggs off the bench than start with Biggs and bring Sam off the bench, if that makes sense. And then, like I said, Anscombe is the one who it's worked with before, and he is there. But I just think he, like you guys said, he's been too injured. He hasn't got enough minutes to be considered ahead of Sam.
But it's like, who do you put Anscombe on against for the easy game? You always want to have a bit of an easy game to go back. So should we start him against Fiji? No, that's not your easy game. Okay, well then, is it Australia or is it Georgia that you want to have an easy game against? Well, yeah, and okay, Portugal is our last game in the pool. So I thought Portugal was last. No,
I think Portugal's second.
I thought Portugal was last. So potentially you play him against Portugal and see how he goes. But that's a massive risk for me doing that. But the bit I was going to say is, have you seen who our third choice scrum half is?
Yay!
Yeah. So I reckon this is bollocks, right? So if you watch the interview, Gats laughs when he says it. So they go. So basically, the journalist asks, "So you've only taken 2 9s. If both of them get injured in the same game, what are you going to do?" And Gats is like, "Well, someone else will have to play 9 then." But it's people are making a big deal out of it. And after Gats said it in the press conference, you wound me up here. Gats said it in the press conference, and everyone starts going, "Oh, Sam Costello!" And people have started trolling through the archives looking for footage of Sam Costello playing 9, right? And I've seen them clips going around. The circumstances where Sam Costello would be playing 9 is if in a game the starting scrum half gets injured or sent off, and then the second 9 comes off the bench and also gets injured or sent off. In any team, you've only got 2 9s in the team anyway. So any team would be buggered by that. It's not. If we'd have taken a third 9, we couldn't bring him off the bench as well, unless we had 2 9s on the bench, which we did against Uruguay in 2019 last time out. But anyway, so if we get a 9 injury between games or in a game, we'll call another one up. It's not a problem. And also on 9s, when was the last time a 9 came off the pitch because he was fatigued? 9s, if they play 50 minutes and then the other one plays 30 minutes and they alternate, I don't see an issue.
But what you're not accounting for there is the amount of work that a scrum half does, chops in at the ref and chops in at the.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
you're worried they're going to get laryngitis.
I think I've got a solution that works for everyone there, and that's you bring in Big George at 9 and keep him the fuck away from the back line. And if he's nowhere near the back line, then he can't let the Fijian outside half have a go at him. It's like you say, it's going to be one of those things that I'm not expecting it to come up, but it does mean that every game, Gareth Davis and Thomas Williams both need to be fit. And if at any point in the World Cup one of them is carrying a niggle, then they've got no option but to play. They might have to play a full 80. Who knows? But lots of other sides have done it as well, so we shall see how that one goes.
Yeah. It's not exactly uncommon to see 5 halfbacks in a World Cup squad.
Yeah, it's just when one of them is permanently injured. Yeah, then it becomes an issue, doesn't it? So before we move on then and we go on to the community game, let's have a little bit of a chat about the news that has just broken while we've been chatting. And that's your friend and mine, Senor Farrell, from he of the England decapitation squad. So 4-match ban is what I've got in front of me. That's what you guys got in front of you, yeah?
I've seen it. I'm believing you guys.
Yeah.
So 4. So all right. So I want to know what the mitigation is then. So hang on. So yeah, carry on, mate.
So the Ireland game last weekend counts as one of them. The Fiji game this weekend counts as one of them, and then he misses the first 2 games of the World Cup, which is Argentina and Japan. So the appeal committee accepted submissions on behalf of the player. Oh no, that's to include Ireland. So voluntarily stood down. Right, hang on.
That's crap. That's absolute crap.
That's bollocks. That's not how it works. Well, it shouldn't be how it works.
Yeah,
If the vote was today.
Yeah, taking all considerations into account, including the player's acceptance of foul play, which he didn't do before, clear demonstration of remorse, and you're going to love this bit, and his good character. So his good character means that it's been mitigated down to a 4-game ban. Discuss.
I thought good character was something you could only use once, like a get out of jail card in Monopoly. Or can you get that more than once? Anyway, I thought that counted on his first ban. Why is it now counting on his 4th ban?
Exactly. It's I mean, at least they've done something to pull that in, but yeah, it just says.
What was the entry point? Was it still 6 weeks?
Yeah. Mitigated to 4 because
how did they get it down? How did they get it down to 2? How would you take 2 off that? Because normally it's a strict half in. So I don't understand how they just randomly select. Oh, we'll take 2 weeks off this player, or we'll half this one. It just is so unclear.
And I'm just trying to see if I can get more on it, but Nah, not having. I'm not seeing a full statement on the which usually comes out the morning after, doesn't it? So
Yeah, so I'm reading. I'm on the
it's not
RFU
big.
website now. So, taking all consideration into account. Okay, I'll read this full paragraph. It's not very long. In considering sanction, the committee applied World Rugby's mandatory minimum mid-range entry point for foul play resulting in contact with the head, 6 matches. Taking all consideration into account, including the player's acceptance of foul play, which he sort of did and didn't last week. He didn't accept it was a red card last week.
No.
Clear demonstration of remorse and his good character.
Yeah.
The committee agreed a 4-match suspension.
That's terrible. It's the complete opposite of what he went with less than 7 days ago. It was last Wednesday, wasn't it? The original was.
Yeah.
And, not even 7 days later, I've changed my tune now so we can forget about the past. Let's forget I've been to tackle school about 30 times already. I've hit people in the head with my shoulder, more than 100 times during my career. Let's forget all of that and give me a nice cushy one.
So what that means is that this ban is the same length as his previous one.
Yeah, and the whole point of the ban ladder is that if you get one ban and then you get a second ban for the same thing, it automatically gets increased. So that's gone out the window. So
getting banned for a game that's in the past.
So all that World Rugby have done here is shown that actually they're willing to stand up and say, yeah, this needs to be reviewed, but as long as it gets reviewed, it doesn't actually matter what comes out the other end. And so this is something I was going to bring in at the end about. So I'm starting to do some stuff about concussion and this, that, and the other, in line with what everybody else is doing. But all this says to players who know they've got bad tackle technique is don't worry, because you'll get a slap on the wrists and you'll be back playing. Particularly if you're a big name and you bring money into the game, which Farrell does in England, nowhere else.
Or you could afford a good QC.
Yeah, and the other bit with this, is people going, "Oh, I want to see the best players at the World Cup." Farrell's one of the best players. I want to see the best player at the World Cup. That is complete rubbish. I want to see players at the World Cup who are going to tackle properly. I want to see, if you want to call him the best player in the world, then he should be tackling properly. Yeah. The best players in the world do not try to decapitate a player. And somebody said the other day, Delalia or whatever it was, we've got to think about what Farrell's going through here. No, you don't have to think about what Farrell's going through. You think about the damage that he's done to players because of his poor tackle technique. His dad came out and said, "Leave my boy alone." No, not leave your boy alone. Go and have a word with your boy about how to bloody tackle properly, because that's what the rest of us do. When our kids start playing, the first thing we teach them when they get to under 9s is how to tackle properly, so you protect yourself and you protect the player that you're tackling. You don't stand up and defend this guy because he can't tackle properly. I think it's an absolute disgrace that nobody is calling him out about his tackle technique. Yeah, if he doesn't like people calling him out, do you know what? Learn to tackle properly. It's as simple as that. There's no ifs, buts, and maybes on this. If you cannot tackle, then you cannot play international rugby. End of. That's my bit.
Yeah, I just add that a lot of the English pundits and some others have come out this week and said fans shouldn't be attacking Owen Farrell or the vitriol and things. Even if we're talking about his character, the guy has given multiple opponents on the rugby pitch brain injuries. So, however many old ladies he helps across the road, however many hedgehogs he puts food out for. Very nice. I'm sure I could sit down with Owen Farrell and have a nice chat with him. He is hurting opponents in an illegal way.
Yeah.
So that's the only character reference I'm talking about.
So I think we've all got that off our chests, guys.
Yeah, but there's still one more to come, though, isn't there? There's still another head contact we need to talk about, but that's not coming until tomorrow now.
Yeah. So Vunipola's hearing has been postponed to tomorrow. So Farrell's supposed to be in the morning and Vunipola the afternoon. Farrell's one literally lasted 12 hours. And now Vunipola's not till tomorrow.
Yeah. And so I was gonna leave this to the end, but I'm gonna bring it up now. So like I said, I'm doing an open university degree into psychology and various bits and bobs. And so I'm going to do a project for my final year. Yeah. And so they said, choose something that's relevant to you. So we've taken away porn because that just wouldn't be appropriate.
Whoa, dude, this is a family show.
And I've taken away shouting at bad drivers because that's my other pet, and I'm left with rugby. Yeah, so that's my kind of, so and obviously concussion is the key talking point on that. So message to kind of this is kind of prepping people for what's going to come, and I'll talk about this later in the season. So I'm going to do some studies into concussion, but it's really interesting. I was discussing it with one of the professors, and I said, I wanted to do an experiment into how rugby players with concussion or rugby players who've had concussion, what their reaction time is, what their memory time is, and how that compares with other people. And they said, to make it a fair kind of comparison, you would need to have a control group of about 25 to 30 rugby players who have never had concussion. And then her question to me was, do you think you can find 30 rugby players who have never been concussed? And I'm sitting there and I'm going, she's probably right. Go on then.
I can't even say that.
Go on, what?
No, I can remember one game. I just on the side of the ruck. Me being a prop, that's where I belong, on the side. I weren't doing anything, and someone, I don't even think he was trying to clear me out, and I took a knee straight to the temple, and oh my god, I was dazed for a good 5 minutes. Didn't take me off or nothing. It was youth rugby at the time, but Jesus Christ, I don't think you're going to find many in that category.
No. Well, in that conversation, she said to me, "Have you ever been concussed?" And I'm like, there are games where at the end of the game, I had to go and look at the scoreboard. And I remember this. I remember the end of the game, the referee blowing, and I went, "Who's won?" And I had to go and stand in front of the scoreboard, and we'd won 35 or whatever. And then somebody went up and went, "Decent couple of tries there today, Griff." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, your first try was superb. Second try was a bit lucky, but your first try was superb. And I didn't even have a clue what the score was. So it's important, when we start talking about concussion and we start talking about head hits and all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm probably going to do a different study that doesn't involve, finding people who aren't concussed and just work with players who have been concussed. But
you know what? I've had an idea.
Go on,
under sevens and under 8s.
I was going to say that.
I'm also not.
How about a touch rugby team? Touch rugby?
Yeah. We're also not allowed to work with under 16s. Generally, everybody, not just me. That's not.
Whoa! Why are you not allowed to work with under 16s?
That's not like a judge saying that or anything. That's the Open Uni says you're not allowed to work with.
That's the DBS,
yeah. So, so keep an eye out for when that comes up, because I'm going to need a lot of support from local clubs on that. Just kind of encouraging players to actually talk about this, and it's been interesting. I put a thing out on Twitter saying, what kind of stuff worries you about concussion, and I've had quite a few people messaging me with stories that are similar to mine. But I've been cussed once, twice, 3, 4 times, and those are the times I can remember, and things like that. And it's a massive thing, particularly for players of a certain age. If you were playing in the 80s and 90s, particularly in the 90s when the game turned pro, but we didn't have the controls that we have now. It got a little bit crazy and a little bit insane. I'll drop that in there while we're talking about head injuries, while we're talking about concussion. That's going to be coming in the future. Just keep an eye on it for me when it comes out.
This might be edited to the end of the pod.
Well, let's quickly run through the community game from last weekend, because we were going to run through the whole of the community game this week, and then we went, actually, we got nothing to talk about next week. We've got no squad selection, we've got no international games, we've got no URC games. So next week we will go through all of the divisions and look at the season ahead and all of that kind of stuff. So friendlies from last weekend then. So again, you boys are going to have to shout when we get to something that you recognise. So Aberystwyth had a bit of a tonking off Bilthwells. They lost 34-12.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a
that's
shock.
unsuspecting.
Yeah, I'd have thought that they'd have put them to the sword. And for crying out loud, it's all right. Go away.
Hey, Picton Sports.
Picton Sports, yeah. Thanks for that advert, boys. Well timed. Couldn't have done that better myself.
Tidy little factory, that is.
Ammanford, decent win away in St.
That's one of ours.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of ours. Well done. He's getting the hang of it now, Mark. We've missed the fact that I've skipped up the 5 that don't involve ours. So yeah.
No, I meant the East. That's an East one. That's one of ours.
Oh, he's getting proper.
Yeah.
Boy.
I know this doesn't come under our remit, but my old team has got a hell of a win by there. Cambrai and Welfare 52-14 away to Bedlinog. That's a cracking win, boys.
Yeah, but nobody from there's listening, Matt, because it's bloody miles away. That's the other end of the country. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, my mother-in-law listens. She's only about 3 miles away. She's fine.
Oh, there we
She likes
go.
to know.
She can shout it from the window then. She can sound. They're talking about you on the pod, boys. Who else? Furnace is one of your boys, isn't it?
Furnace, yeah.
Yeah, they're East. So.
Yeah, Furnace is where my girls actually play. Stradley Husbands use their field.
Yeah, I thought you'd mentioned it before. So, they lost 47-19 away in Caerphilly. So this is a game we did talk about last week, Carmarthen Quins and Cambridge. So, Quins lost 13-17 because that looks like quite a good game, to be honest.
Cambridge made a big song and dance out of it on socials. Cambridge were promoting the hell out of it.
Right, okay. So they must be chuffed with that then, and Carmarthen Quins should be really stacked with quite a few Scarlets players at this time of the season. There we go.
No, there's none of them. There's none because of the late start.
So I thought they were releasing all of the academy boys and all of the non-seniors to.
Everyone from transition and up is not touching any of the semi-pros until at least mid-October.
Really? That's poor. They should be out there getting game time. Right, who else? Narberth had a cracking win.
Narberth, yeah.
Away in Cross Keys.
Diggs Crusaders won.
I haven't got that far yet. Where are they?
We got Larn first, man.
Right. Carmarthen beat Larn 38-32, and then our favourite side from last week, who aren't from our region, who weren't playing somebody in our region. They're from Bristol with just like the name Dings Crusaders. So they beat Bargoed 28-17. Kidwelly and Carmarthen Athletic.
That sounds like a good name for a Chinese Dings Crusaders.
Don't start that, man. We'll get complaints and all sorts of stuff. You know we will. So Kidwelly and Carmarthen Athletic 22-19 to Kidwelly. That's a really good result for Athletic to be that close to a side that's 2 divisions above them, I think. Certainly one, but to be that...
They were in the same league last season, but Kidwelly have gone up. There was about 3 or 4 places, I think, between them. I would.
I thought Kidwelly were in. Yeah, I thought Kidwelly were in the league above and went up. So okay, still decent result for Athletic on that one.
Have you had a concussion recently, Lee?
Oh, that's a good result for Athletic, man. The Kidwelly were really, really strong at the end of last season. Really strong.
It is. So, it is in all fairness.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look. But shout them out as you see them, boys, because we're just going down the
Emlyn,
Newcastle.
I think.
Yeah, Newcastle Emlyn. They lost. Newcastle Emlyn lost to
33-36.
Yeah. And St. Peter's ain't that strong.
I think
they never used to
got
be.
the same, and I think are they Championship East now? I know one of the Saint sides are.
Yeah, but they never used to be that strong.
This is a really poor podcast. We don't know anything.
No, we don't know. No idea. Pembroke lost 22-27 to Tumble. So I just found out this week that the guy that used to play scrum half when I was number 8 is now coaching the back line for Pembroke. So nobody's getting a word in edgeways in training session in that one. I can guarantee that one. Well done, Butch. Good luck on that one, fella.
Penny Banks right after.
Oh, are they one of your boys? Are they in East Side? Are they?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, they're one of ours.
Where are they then? Because I don't know much about East.
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's somewhere near to Christ. I think it is Ammanford side.
Right.
Don't quote me on it.
We're going to have to do a lot of Google searching on the map for next week. We're going to have to get ourselves a big board.
I've got the club crest on my my screen, but the actual location, I haven't got that out so far.
Okay, so Pennebank 27, Ogmobile 7. Who else we got on there now? Pencloud. Oh yeah, Aberray Run. Drew. Blimey, 33 all. Can you imagine trying to keep track of a game 33 all? I mean, bloody hell,
imagine they don't have no scoreboards on the side, or one of the old ones where you're getting one of the committee members to run around. You know, the 60-year-old man has got to climb the ladder to get up there.
Yeah.
By the time he's gone up, he got to come back down to bloody put another one back up.
Yeah. Let's go on. Who's verifying that these are accurate? Is this 100% fact check website? Is some of the big winners
from the clubs?
Okay.
To be honest, all Wales sport tend to be quite good. They do tend to be quite accurate. So, yeah. Who else have we got on there now, boys? No. Whitland and Nancaredig. There we go.
Nancaredig.
Yeah, so Nancaredig dished out a bit of a kick in there, haven't they? 33-17. And Nancaredig were Division 2 last year, weren't they? Whitland were Division 1. So Whitland got... Oh, because of all the restructure, Whitland wouldn't have gone down, would they? Because Pembroke went down 2.
Nope.
We'll cover that when we do the...
And they're still not favourites for that division.
Yeah. Well, when
we do this next week, we need a big old Google Maps, and we need to draw a line on it.
Who's where and what they're doing. Right. So let's have a look at fixtures for this weekend then.
Just to say, Llandovery played 2 back-to-back friendlies midweek last week. I think they beat Llangennech and lost to Bridgend, I want to say.
Yeah, there we go. We've got...
There you go.
Yeah, so Llandovery 31, Llangennech 22. How come New Panteg get a new... What happened to are old Panteg just called Panteg, or are they called old Panteg? Why are they new Panteg? we're going to have words about that. Yeah, so then 26-19 to pretend on the following day. Well, look, above Llangennech and Llandyfri, yeah, you've got Croescoeliog 42, New Panteg 0. Well, if they knew Panteg...
But think about it. Just think. You are currently Griff. You're going to be old Griff soon. You know what I mean?
I feel that
so
now.
there has to be a new Griff.
Yeah, or they're just Panteg, because the old Panteg no longer exists. That's going to have to be research for next week, boys. And then, so Friday night, but I can't see anybody on there. Oh, Lucha lost to Vardra 24-19.
No, what are you doing?
No,
Lucha, what are you doing?
I'm thinking the Lucha Bridge,
yeah,
aren't I?
Binyar is where it ends, but there you hit Binyar, and then you go to the dark side. We don't like that side.
No, I can't stand Lucha because that's where I got knocked out.
The brute.
Yeah, I had one of my concussions.
Under sevens game with my boy 2 years ago, there was bloody scrapping. Literal. Obviously, I can't say this for every person in Locha, but Jesus Christ, I can't find anyone who's got a positive story from going to Locha.
No, nobody. Okay, so on to fixtures for this weekend then. So Friday night, Aberystwyth are away in Bala. Ammanford are away.
That's Thursday, then?
What day is it?
Yeah, 24th is Thursday.
Oh, yeah. It's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah. So, it's thrown me now. What night are we on? Thursday night.
It's Tuesday today.
Thursday night.
Thursday
night, Ammanford are in Astragunlais. Pontiates are
Trimsar Pontiates. That's a good one.
That's almost a local derby.
Tumble Ponteberem. Yeah, they are. They're really close. Tumble Ponteberem. That's a massive one.
Pontedilais hosts Skewen.
Do you think we can get Phil Steele on to read some of these out? Because he always used to know, they would be like the 84936 roundabout derby or something. He'd call them something like that.
Yeah. He'd always know someone, wouldn't he?
He had a whole team at the BBC blimmin' doing after him. It wasn't him, man.
That's scandalous. I'm going to tell him you said that.
Before we go on to the weekend, there is a big one on Saturday. Abereyron Sevens.
Yeah, that's it. Saturday's bank holiday
Saturday.
Saturday.
Festival. You fancy a day out? Yeah, my boy will be travelling up representing Buryport under nines. He might make his first tackle. He's only had a year to practice.
The thing I like about the Abereyron Sevens is they run all of them at the same time. So they'll have the men's, the women's, the youth, right the way down, like you say, to under nines and all that kind of stuff. So everyone's kind of playing at the same time. So it's a nice. I've been invited several times, but just never been able to make it. And apparently, the men's final is just everyone is half cut, including the referee, the touch judges, and anyone that's still left watching. So. Yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah, well, the plan was for us to all go camping up on the pitch, but they wouldn't let us, unfortunately. I don't know why.
That's a wild place to go camping, that is, mate. Abereyron. That's crazy, that is. Anyway, so Friday night, Glamorgan Wanderers host Carmarthen Quins, and then Saturday, big games on Saturday.
Nice one.
So Crumach are hosting Cardiff Club Caerdydd.
Club Rugby Cymru Caerdydd.
That's the boy. Well done, thank you. And then
it's not a nice place to travel to. If you ever down in Roth in Cardiff, it's not the best.
No.
But they follow us uni boys normally though, so they are a good bunch.
What club did it used to be then? Because I don't remember that as a club like 20 odd years ago. Is it a club that's changed its name, or is it a completely new club?
Mate, I wasn't even a teenager 20 odd years ago.
Shut up, go away. And then to finish off, we got Tenby hosting Llanelli Wanderers. Tenby hosted the women's sevens last Saturday, which was meant to be a very good day out as well. I've seen lots of good stuff on social media from that. So yeah, that was a good day last Saturday. First one, and hopefully many more will follow. So,
do we know if Llanelli RFC have scheduled their first match since?
Well, they don't exist anymore, do they?
The new idea. No, but the idea was that they would host friendlies.
Well, they do exist. The friendlies are supposed to be during like the international breaks, so like during the Six Nations. That's when we should be seeing those friendlies. I mean, there might be a couple scattered in throughout the season, but it's basically supposed to be a glorified Scarlet's A. So I don't think we're going to see anything from that till February time.
Yeah, and even then it'll depend on injuries, won't it? Who gets selected for the Wales squad and how many players have got injured. So, yeah, plenty of that to discuss next week, boys. Plenty of that to discuss. So
next week's a big one.
Next week we got
again getting back to our roots.
We're going back to the roots. So this will be a bit of a shock for you next week. So we will go down all of the rugby fixtures for all of the teams in our area. So we will start with so it's under WRU West. Oh no, it's under Championship, isn't it? WRU Championship West. So we'll start with the Championship West, then we'll go Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and we'll just look at who we've got there, what teams to look out for, who's East, who's West, who are we going to fight over being East and West, where does Newcastle Emlyn come into it? You know, is Newcastle Emlyn East or West? It's going to be a fun fight, boys. Next week's going to be crazy. We're going to have a look at who's where. Go on.
Do you know what I love about this moment right now? I know you've done no prep for the East because
absolutely none.
We've got three teams in Division 5 West Central.
We've got what?
Newcastle Emlyn pitch is in Carmarthenshire. The clubhouse is in Ceredigion. It's awesome.
Yeah, but it's Newcastle Emlyn sits on the triangle where for a long time Newcastle Emlyn Main Street was in Pembrokeshire. How bizarre is that?
Yeah.
Anyway, next week we will go down all of that. Hugh's looking at it and he's going like, "Oh, I might be sick next week, boys."
I'm just thinking West obviously means a different word where you are.
I've got to have somebody to talk about. So
1 sec.
Yeah. Martin's used to it from.
I've got this for you now.
No, don't start.
I love this stuff. I love my club rugby. You know me, and barring two defunct teams, we've got 52 teams to talk about next week, and from there on in, I'm loving it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Hell will take about 2 days.
yeah. Right. On that note, gents, it is more than time to wrap it up. Thank you for your company tonight. It's been superb. And next week we go down the divisions. We got no international, we got no Scarlets, so we're going down the divisions. So it's a big one for local rugby next week. Looking forward to it already. Gents, enjoy your rugby, and I shall catch up with you again next week. All the best.
Cheers, boys.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. Please subscribe and share as it really helps to grow the Scarlets family. You can contact us in all the usual social media platforms or on scarletspems@gmail.com. Join us again next week for more of the same, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.